Okay, we're on. Okay, let's go ahead and take roll call, please.
Mr. Aristide?
Yes.
Ms. Cobo is excused. Ms. Cohen? Mr. Each? Ms. Estime Irvin?
She's on her way.
Ms. Geimer? Mr. McDermott?
Here.
Dr. Emilian? Dr. Moise is excused. Mr. Reynolds?
Yep.
Mr. Robillard?
Here.
And Mr. Sanchez.
That's it.
We have quorum.
Okay, all right. So if everybody will rise, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can we have a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting?
I so move.
Any additions or deletions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, we're going to go into our action items. The first one is the Canaskia Boutique Beautification Grant Request.
Yes, the applicant is here, Ms. Elizabeth Mendoza. She's
Mhm.
actually a new tenant. She's just moved into our downtown, and she's moving into the 817 Northeast 125th Street location. She's requesting for a grant under the beautification to redo the inside and put in dressing rooms and to paint and to finish fixing up the inside, remodeling the inside. As you can see, there are some pictures in the back for what it's going to look like. These are, she's working with designers, and she will be showcasing and selling them at the store. So her request, the lowest bidded amount was $13,921. If you have any questions, Ms. Mendoza's here. If not, staff recommends approval. This is a new business that's moving into the downtown, and this is what we're looking for to revitalize our corridor. Sure.
Okay. Ms. Mendoza, you want to come to the microphone over here and tell us a little bit about what you're trying to do?
Hello. Yes, I like Ms. Sorai had said, I moved into 817 Northeast 125th. I think the boutique is going to be attracting a lot of clients. It's going to be eye-catching. I'm trying to make it a place that's memorable. That's why I'm focusing a lot in the decor. And I'm going to have a lot of fashionable items that I think that will bring in a lot more people to the area. And I think it's a good spot for the downtown of North Miami, as we're opening a cafe shop near soon. And I think it'll go hand in hand back into marketing with the Mocha Cafe that does little nighttime experiences. So.
Okay. So all of this is interior work.
Correct.
Okay.
That will just cover the interior. I mean, out of pocket, I'll cover any extras. Obviously, I'll do the inventory, furniture, anything like that, are extras.
Do we do any sort of internal checklist in terms of determining qualification before approval is coming here to the committee?
Qualification.
Like to, I guess you're saying staff recommend approval under like a particular basis?
We check the contractors to make sure that they're licensed, that the work that she's asking for is appropriate, it meets the grant guidelines. We check her license as a business to make sure it's active as she's moving in here, so therefore she doesn't have a BTR yet, but she will have a city BTR. She did get a lease from her landlord to move that.
So it's a pretty much a new business.
Yeah, she is a new business moving into the corridor.
Any plan for hiring, direct impact in the city, jobs, anything like this?
Yes. Since we have Johnson & Wales nearby and also FIU, I wanted to provide internships for those who are in fashion marketing. Also, internships for those who are in business programs that we can provide even stipends as well. So.
Is this your first endeavor, or have you done this before?
I have done online as well, and I've done other ventures outside of the retail, in the food industry as well, and I've been successful. So I wanted to first do in the physical, store, the retail store and then expand later on.
Have you already done this kind of business online?
Yes.
Okay, recently?
Yes,
You have,
I
currently
did.
have a business online?
Well, I closed it. I closed it last year. I was going through some family problems that I had to pay attention to more. I guess that that did require my focus, but I did reopen it, and I am working with a marketing group. I'm working with social media specialists that do have modeling. They do have photography and a presence that it will attract more clients. So.
And where does your merchandise come from? How do you select?
Well, we have distributors that come directly from California, so they have a lot of factories over there in wholesale.
So you just go to like a merchandise mart, or you come with a mart?
Correct.
and-
There are conventions that you can network and you find the right merchandise for your company.
Okay. Any other questions?
I would think I have probably a couple more. You're saying this is a first-year business
Yes, in a physical store. Correct.
in a physical store, so I'm assuming since licensing and everything was checked, no issues with the internal revenue or
Oh
state
no
revenue? Okay.
Oh, I have a question for you. How large is the store? How many square feet?
It's around 1,800 square feet.
Okay, and what is your rent per month?
1,875, I think, yeah, with tax.
Plus tax, right?
Yes.
Any other questions?
How long have you been in business? What other enterprises have you dealt with?
Oh well.
You
I've
said
done-
you were online.
Online.
Have you actually done any other retail establishments, physical?
No, this will be the
stores?
first physical. So
This is
I've
gonna
done
be your
online
first
before.
store.
Yes.
How long have you been in the haberdashery business, clothing business, or
I would say around a year and a half.
a year and
I
a
was
half?
working. Yes, I was closely working with other businesses as well before that. So on
Can
my
you-
own.
Can you give us an example of your experience in dealing in the retail trade?
Well, you could say competition or nearby within the radius would be around Biscayne. We have other boutiques there. We have the Wynwood area as well. I did a couple internships with them, and I learned. I picked up a lot while I was there.
I guess what I'm getting at is this is going to be your first experience as yourself opening up a business, and we're going to give you X amount of dollars to improve that store. And obviously, we want to see you succeed, but I'd like to know what marketing ability, what commercial, retail experience you bring to the table. What's going to,
Right. I'm working.
what's going to be, we want to know that it's
Yeah,
gonna
I
be
know
a successful
advertising
business.
plays a big part. I'm going to work with marketing group. I'm working with them, and they provide the web designing, the photography. They bring, I guess, the models as well, that will be able to showcase the merchandise. So.
Now,
they-
I don't think you understand what is your past experience? Give us
Okay, education-wise,
Hmm?
yes, I do have a degree in business. I did do advertising, a little bit of web designing, but I have more people around my circle that are,
so
taking
have
care
a
of that.
You have a degree in business.
I do have a degree in business.
Okay. And that's what I'm trying to get at. Give me some experience that you
Okay.
had that's going to lean us to say this is going to be a successful business and we're going to go forward.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Please acknowledge that Pastor Enoch Millian has joined us. Also, our city manager and executive director, Larry Springs, is here. Larry, you want to come up?
No.
Okay. All right. Okay. Also, we have Terry Henley from our finance department is here. Okay. No other questions. Do I have a motion for anyone?
I so move.
We have a motion from Carol, the second, Mr. Sanchez. Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, well, thank you very much.
Welcome to North Miami.
Okay, our second action item is Mary's Pound.
Yes, Ms. Tangwe is here to speak, but I will do most of the speaking because she actually just came back from the doctor, so I don't want to overburden her unless you have additional questions. We provided a beautification grant to Mary's Pound in October of 2015. And due to financial constraints, she couldn't apply for more with the 50/50 match over the 15,000.
Right.
We started doing the work, the beautification work. I don't know if you've been around along with Dixie,
Yeah.
you have seen the improvements on that building. However, as they were doing the repairs, when they started cleaning it up, they discovered, for instance, that there were actually huge bay windows framed in there, but they had, I guess, 20 years ago, they had just
Plastered
put
'em over.
plywood
Yeah.
in there. So as-
27 years ago, because
Okay.
before, I mean, when it was built.
So they, so now they discovered there were holes, it's not sustaining itself and so on and so forth. So at the state where she's at now, the work that we did is great, however, it's uncovered additional work. Due to her financial constraints, she would have to go to the 50/50 match guideline, and she wouldn't be able to do it. So the request today before you is the additional work that was presented by the contractor that she has employed for $13,967, and the request is to waive the matching requirement, because at this point she wouldn't be in a beautification grant, she would be in the rehab grant guideline, and that requires a 50/50 match. So we're asking the board to consider waiving that guideline to allow her to have that additional grant at 100%. Staff recommends approval. Like I said, it's beautiful work. We've seen tremendous improvement along that corridor, and understanding that as a small business owner, she does not have the actual cash to continue the work. So.
No, I've been driving by and I've seen it, and it's really dressing up that part of West Dixie Highway. It really is. So, council, any comments or input in reference to that?
No, I think the CRA director explained it perfectly. I mean, the grant, because of the additional money, is no longer a beautification grant, it's now a rehab grant. So you're considering approving the additional money and waiving the 50/50 match requirement with respect to the additional money.
Okay. All right, any questions?
How much is being asked exactly?
I'm sorry?
How much is it being?
13, as it says in the package,
13,967.
13,967.
So how would the 50/50 match works here?
It doesn't work because we're asking to waive that requirement.
Yes, they're asking
we're
to
just-
waive that particular portion.
So that you could give what, do more?
The full
The full
13,967
13,000.
amount.
Yeah, we're in for a penny and for a pound. I mean, I agree. I know the
Mary's
bill.
Pound.
I know the bill. I
You've probably been there.
I know the building when it was a bar. You're right, I was there. Yeah.
No, and
You're
it
right.
really is dressing up that part of West Dixie, and that's real important to get West Dixie dressed up. And when you come down West Dixie, that's one of the first buildings you see is Mary's Pound. So I think it's important that we, do that. Any other questions?
Well, let me just ask, you have a letter attached to this that just have to do with financial constraints. I guess you're explaining. Can you tell us a little more about what are those financial constraints as to why otherwise you wouldn't be able to do it?
Well, being there on that corner and everything, and the way that the building looked before, and all the things that were happening, the building wasn't bringing in the revenue that it was, and now that I hope that that it's gonna look better and bring all the people that used to come before, and they'll be able to see it and wanna come there instead of saying, let me go to that pet shop or something like that. So I think that beautifying my building and offering the services that we do as a pet shop, I think that it's gonna help North Miami considerably and bring the people from the Aventura back that used to come here, the people from Otis that used to come, and even people from Hollywood that used to come to my shop that, maybe felt uncomfortable coming there because of the way that it looked. But now that it's gonna look better, I'm hoping to bring those people back.
I guess you're saying revenue is down.
Yes,
These
sir.
are your
Yes,
financial
sir.
constraints.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other questions, input? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
So moved by...
Second.
Okay, all right. Any other comments or questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, Mary, thank you very much.
And I want to thank the CRA for all that they've done for me so far, and I think that it's a good thing that's going to happen for us. Thank you.
Okay. Any report from you?
Are you going to discuss the, where we are with the redevelopment?
Yeah, we were just going to give an update. You can go ahead and give that.
As you may recall, this committee, as well as the CRA board and the city council, approved an amendment to the redevelopment plan, including an extension to the life of the CRA for another 29 years. That amended plan and the resolutions have been sent to Dade County. Recently, we have met with both the TIF committee. The TIF committee is the first committee you meet with, as you may recall, to get things approved for CRAs. And it's the tax increment financing committee made up of a number of department heads and chaired by the Office of Management and Budget, George Fernandez. They approved moving our amended plan forward with some minor changes to things, including providing some more workforce housing as part of our amended plan. In other words, they want us to commit to spend 10% of our annual TIF towards workforce, affordable, and mixed-use housing. So they have moved that forward. The next step is it goes to the Economic Prosperity Committee at some point, and then the full Board of County Commissioners. We're trying to schedule this so it goes to the Economic Prosperity Committee in June, and then the full board in July, because we're concerned, of course, with timing coming up in the fall when we sunset. We've also met with the county mayor's office to discuss negotiation of the amendment to your interlocal agreement between the city, the county, and the CRA. And as part of that, as we've discussed in the past, the county has included many of the provisions in the proposed resolution regarding oversight of CRAs that came out of the grand jury report. So those would include adding a county commissioner to your CRA board, and also potentially adding 2 citizen representatives selected by county commissioners to your CRA board.
Wait, 2? Did you say 2?
Yes, I did, Clark. I said 2.
2 citizens?
Yes, I said 2
In
citizens.
addition to the county?
Yes.
That brings you back to 8.
Wow, it starts to get big.
Starts to get big. So we may have to remodel. I don't know. We'll see. You know, other requirements is having, you know, Inspector General, obviously Inspector General, you know, look at our projects and the like, including certain things we do already, like in our grant agreements, clawback provisions. If, you know, the folks don't do the project, you know, and we've given them money, or they sell the project, then we get the money back. So all in all, I think we're working together with the executive director, with the director, with RMA, and myself to move this forward. And it looks like we're on a good track and a good pace to get it done. And perhaps the executive director is stepping up to even give us a little more background on this.
Good evening, everyone. Larry Spring, executive director. I just wanted to add one thing to that. One thing that wasn't in there is performance benchmarks that they're asking us to add. So over this 29-year period, they're going to ask us to take, at somewhere around year 5, year 7, a look at where we're advancing and commit to have some real movement. So TIF growth or projects completed, and if those things aren't in place, potentially they would say, okay, CRA ends, and we only finish paying what we already invested in, and then the rest of the stuff sunsets. So it is it's a little bit more than your typical interlocal that I'm used to seeing, but what it will do is give a lot more accountability from a staff perspective. But I wanted to add that to what you were saying. Yeah.
Is this going to be like, are we like the baby of this? If this is going to do it with all the other cities?
Well, actually, yes. In fact, our esteemed attorney made a point with them when we're going through TIF committee and the negotiations. North Miami CRA has the opportunity to be the actual poster child for where the county wants to go with CRAs. So, because we are the first one being considered beyond the passing of this resolution. So we'd already done the budget modification, the budget that this board already passed meets some of those financial requirements or obligations that are being set by that resolution. We are also you know, we're considering, you know, some modification of our TIF percentage, the affordable housing requirements, and all of those things that are in that resolution, we're already committing ourselves to. So we have, and that's kind of how we're framing this. Hey, let's work with them. Let's do it together, and be the example, you know, and really make it happen. Really commit. And the director, when they presented the budget before, were already commended for having already met a lot of the parameters that were already in there. So we're moving in the right direction. It's just a matter of making sure we get to the finish line. Our biggest concern really is timing. I think the county's trying to push it back a little bit further than what we're expecting by a month. And quite honestly, I do not want to be September 15th when we sunset and they have a budget meeting and they're like, oh, well, forget those CRA items. We're going to, you know, focus on the budget. And I don't want to put the city in that situation. So we're working diligently. Actually, we met this morning, got through a lot of the stuff that we wanted to put in there, and we'll be advancing it back to the county. So just wanted to give that update.
Larry, can you give like what in your, for example, kind of item that you would agree that would be completed within 5 years or substantially completed? Like
What we did was
we
we had that framework conversation. So 7th Avenue corridor is an area, the downtown redevelopment, this specific area right here, and then the housing are the three triggers, project areas that we're going to add to the agreement. And then on top of that, we would have TIF growth. What is our tax-based growth? So it wouldn't be an all or nothing. It would be like, all right, if we hit the mark on 2 out of 3 of the first 3, and we hit the tax-based growth, all right, you guys get to continue. We don't want it to be absolute. And we actually had a very good conversation with George Fernandez about that, because you know, they were looking at the Miami Beach model. Well, they had a specific project. They're doing the convention center. So once that's done, that's it. You know, all the rest of the money would go back. In our case, ours aren't quite that defined. So while we have the redevelopment of 7th Avenue as a targeted area with a master plan, and we have the downtown corridor with that master plan and a targeted area, there could be a lot of things that we could do in there that help bring the area. We could end up attracting some new business and give them a TIF deal. We'd be utilizing our money, and we have a project completed. Obviously, I think you know, Clark, that you know the biggest project is the redevelopment of this civic center area with the garage and possible public-private partnership, redevelopment of the garages on the north side of 125th Street as catalytic projects to really bringing more investment into the area. So focusing on that. On the 7th Avenue is really, I think, the main driver, and we don't want to specifically talk about it, but the main driver will be the Chinatown redevelopment as one of the main projects for the 7th Avenue, and how we go about implementing that program. And then the housing, which is something that they really liked at the TIF committee. It's not just new housing, but looking at the existing housing stock that is already affordable or workforce that we already have in our city along 6th Avenue, West Dixie, even east of here on 125th Street, going into some of those properties and working out partnerships where we can do rehab, and not only through the CRA, but the city has a lot of water liens and code enforcement liens on a lot of these properties that we can go in and say, all right, here's the deal. We'll mitigate. We're going to mitigate, give you a little bit of money to renovate, but the key will be you need to keep these units priced or rented in a certain range. So they really like that. The other piece that I think they really like, and we still have to figure this out, not just mixed use, but mixed income. So you have a market rate building with maybe, you know, some penthouse. The perfect example, even though it doesn't exist, if I could take a Solomia brand new building and mix in some workforce and affordable units within that structure, I think what we all commonly know in the States, the rent control buildings in New York and Chicago, would be more on those lines. The housing department, the county, they're moving in that direction, because right now You know, we keep putting affordable housing, all of it's here and all of it's there. We need to put some on the eastern side of Biscayne Boulevard. We need to put some on Miami Beach and downtown Miami, you know, and not just in a building by itself. You know, and that's some of the things.
It's not a
that we're-
directive that came down from HUD. I think Westchester
This-
County
this
was
year,
a
yes.
target of that.
Yeah.
And the argument is that if we put poor people together, they're never gonna break
This,
loose.
the change will not happen, correct?
Well, this is a.
Well,
something
and
experiment.
Florida Housing has that now. They're not gonna fund any projects, within a certain geographic boundary. Right, because they want to move it to the richer areas. They want it in Doral, they want it in Kendall, where working class people, middle class are all together, so it's all mixed in. You won't know.
But in our case, what would happen is we would get the wealthy people moving into North Miami.
One of, one.
Larry, for the Chinatown project, when that will be started?
We are in the process right now of selecting the design company that will do the redesign of the master plan. In fact, I think a couple of board members here are members of the
Guymer.
master plan committee. Ms. Guymer, are you on there?
What's that,
No,
for
no.
7th Avenue or?
For 7th Avenue between 19th and 135th. So we had
But Larry,
citizens.
is that that we will build it and they will come?
No,
Is that
what?
a-
No, no, not quite, not quite. We're not a baseball stadium. In
I
a
don't get
field.
it. I mean,
No, what we're doing, we are looking at the planning of that street. We're looking at the streetscape. We're looking at the facades. And actually, Rasha will be leaving on Thursday. We're sending a group to China to actually go meet with investors who have interest in investing here in Miami proper. And we actually have done a pamphlet, and we have a presentation where we talk about the investment opportunity in the CRA, in particular that corridor, and the hope and the plan is not just a hope, it is a plan, is to go and attract some of these individuals who want to actually come buy the property and bring those businesses to that corridor.
Larry, may I ask you a question? You're talking, you're saying 119th to 135th. Are you talking about the west side of 7th Avenue?
Both sides.
Both sides,
Both
okay.
sides.
You know, 7th Avenue is up to 143rd in our jurisdiction.
Mhm.
And during when we're doing the land use on the planning commission, I had suggested that we go 30 stories over there, put your parking garages underneath and go as high as the sky, buffering I-95. And the Urban Land Institute, I handed it out, the article to every member of the city council. The Urban Land Institute said we always think in the near term, not in the long term. I mentioned this the last meeting. I can guarantee you in 20 years, 10 years, the traffic is getting so bad going down I-95 that can become an urban hub. That can become the future of this city if we plan it right. I don't know what came back from the state. I didn't review it on our land use, but I think we're limited to 20 stories over there.
I'd have to look specifically, whatever was approved at the council, well, you know, the final document was approved second reading last meeting. It's been retransmitted. The only changes that were made were the objections, and those were just mostly like references to certain code provisions and things of that nature. So
What I'm getting at is if you go sky's the limit over there, that can be your tax base for the city's future. You can create good jobs. And here again, when we're talking about, let's use mixed use, for example. I've seen office buildings and residential buildings mixed together. It's nothing new. This is not rocket science, folks. This is in New York, Chicago, every major metropolitan area. I think what the studies came back on our traffic problem, they said that we're the 7th most congested city in the country. Now, what I'm suggesting and what I'm saying is, look at that and go sky's the limit. There's no reason why we can't. And I scratch my head when I hear that our water capacity is only going to give us 5,000 new units.
that's
kind
kind of a misnomer to say that. It's more than that. It's just from the last comprehensive plan, we stayed with the number of units that we had because we hadn't developed any.
It's absolutely preposterous, I'll say that. I said it at the planning commission, I'll say it again, but it's good to see the seeds take hold on 7th Avenue, and I'll get with you on 119th Street. There's other ideas that if we think outside the box, you can really make it happen. You can, I look at the meatpacking district in New York City, downtown, off the Hudson River. And 40 years ago, people were running away from that city. They were going, I don't want to be here. You should see it today. I did the High Line this past summer, and that's the old rail structure that the New York Central had put in, and that is absolutely fantastic. You can do the same thing on Northwest 7th Avenue if you have the determination and the vision. And one of the things that I've seen in this city over 40 years, we used to call ourselves the City of Progress. Well, in the police department, we used to say, this is the town that time forgot because we didn't want to progress. You got a golden opportunity out there, and I commend you guys for doing it. Go for it, rock and roll.
We will, and again, those opportunities, once we get what it is in place, then we can look at the zoning, because that's when they can ask for an amendment or a variance, and we can talk about it. We're already we're having those conversations, because now people are starting to come, and while this certain use isn't allowed on 125th. Well, how would you do it? Let's talk about it. Let's at least talk about it, and we'll see what comes out. I know Clark knows we're trying to do a lot of stuff here, and it's going to take a lot of partnerships and understanding.
It's a lot. It's
Yeah.
going to be transformative. I think we're almost there after all these years. So.
Mr. Executive, can I ask you one question?
Sure.
I know that we recommended how the TIF money would be distributed, and the city council said the same. That's going to be come back in a different model?
Potentially, but it will have to get approved. One of the things that we're passing that resolution, although it doesn't quite apply to us, is a setting of the CRAs instead of 95% at 50%. So that's out there. I will just be very transparent about it. Selfishly, as city manager, I don't think we should have a 95% CRA. We have a lot of development going on. If Solomia does, and they're moving fast, they're adding 4,000 units to their property alone. That's residential dwelling units plus 1 million square feet of retail. I'm gonna need lots more cops. I'm still working with the police department to figure out what that number is. Well, that needs to be a cost that is absorbed in the general fund. And if the predominance of that fee or that revenue is in the CRA, and actually, to their point, they put a limitation. One of the items in the interlocal is a 10% maximum on community policing as a expense on the CRA side. So they're telling us we don't want it in there. You can do the resource officers in certain business districts because that brings a different feel to the area, but they don't want it as a general rule. Hey, don't go add 50 cops to this stuff. So we need to, and we're having that discussion, and I've been having it with the council individually. So we'll see where we land.
I could see the county's point of view.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, thank you, sir, very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for allowing me those comments.
And before I pass it on to Major Beige, I just wanted to say that Captain Jim's had its grand reopening this past week, and I know they did send invitations to everybody. Thank you for those of you who attended. It was
wonderful.
It was wonderful, very well attended, and Commissioner Hayman came, the Mayor of Aventura came, Councilman Galvin, Vice Mayor Desulme, and Councilman Keys came. It was very nice, and Councilman Galvin asked me, what specifically did we pay for? And Jeffrey Ross was able to show, and it was beautiful. The fact that, if you go to Captain Jim's now, you can see where
It really
CRA
does.
dollars
It looks
went.
good.
It's
I've been
totally
in there.
different.
I can't believe the change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
amazing.
and the food is excellent. It's wonderful. So
Yeah.
I do have pictures, and we'll do a collage eventually when we do a report in the next couple of months.
All right.
And then Major Beige.
Major Beige, you want to talk to us about the...
Good evening. I just wanted to come here tonight to highlight one of the incidents that Officer Kevin Crespo encountered while working the CRA off duty. Unfortunately, he couldn't come tonight because both his mother-in-law and father-in-law were taken to the hospital last week, so he apologizes for not attending. But real quick, Officer Crespo, on March 29th, 2016, was on the CRA off-duty detail, and he was riding a Segway. Many of you have seen him on a Segway in City Hall or in other places. He rode into the Simon Shoe Store, which is right next door. And as he rides in there once a week when he does his patrols. He noticed a gentleman at the cashier that had basically a deck of cards, but they were credit cards. So he had a stack of credit cards in his hand. And the credit cards looked a little bit off, so he didn't want to alert the customer to his suspicions, so he started making small talk with one of the other employees, and he overheard the cashier say several times, "No, sir, that card's denied. No, sir, that card's denied." So he went outside, radioed for backup, and he started patrolling the parking lot, but he was able to see the subject inside, waited for the subject to come out, and when the subject came out, he confronted him. He started to engage him in some conversation, was able to get the receipt from the subject, and also a few of the credit cards because he made some small talk. "Hey, what happened? How come your transaction didn't go through? What's going on?" And he compared the numbers on the credit card with the numbers on the receipt. They had remagnetized the cards. And a lot of times you'll see people that have several cards like that. It's not a normal behavior. Most people keep their cards in their wallet or in their purse. But to have a stack of cards in your hand, and as soon as he took the first card, he kind of knew because it was a gift card and not an actual bank credit card. So he knew something was wrong with it. He wound up taking the subject into custody. The subject had 6 fraudulent credit and or debit cards on him. And he was also a member of probably an international fraud ring once I started speaking with him. So I just wanted to come convey to you that the investment that you've made to the downtown area has paid off not only in the visibility, the reduction of crime, but this is also a specific incident where the officer was in the right place at the right time, and it's really in part due to the support that we got from the CRA. And he was also recommended for Officer of the Month for the actions he took.
Yeah, well,
So I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
I can tell you that I've gone on some of the night walks. By the way, any of you who haven't been on the Friday night art walks, they're on last Friday of the month. They're really nice. All the stores stay open. A lot of people on the street. And I've talked to a couple shop owners, and they are so delighted that you guys have a presence there now. It's really made a big difference in their business. And I know that the manager was talking about starting out on 7th Avenue, and so I think that maybe we'll one of these days, because we'll do West Dixie maybe someday. You never know. But anyway, it really is noticeable. The effect is very positive and very noticeable.
We thank you for your kind words, and as a reminder, tomorrow is a police memorial at 9 a.m. in front of our station. And we'd like to invite everybody to come to our police memorial for the 3 fallen officers. Thank you.
Okay. Also, at this point, I'd like to acknowledge that Mary Estamine Urban has joined us, and also today is her birthday. Happy birthday! Happy birthday, Mary. So
Mary, you get younger with this.
We also have Richard Minor here.
yeah, Richard, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good to see you. Okay, is there any public comment? All right, any old business?
Just for information, I was down at the county Public Works Department. They're gonna start on Northeast 16th Avenue, I believe, in January, from 135th to 123rd. I have looked over the plans. They look pretty good. And I'll run it. I don't, maybe I'm putting the cart before the horse. I'll run it, but I just want you to know about it. Maybe we could take some CRA funds and do a little more glamour on that street over there on 16th Ave. We have the end of the Yards Creek Canal right besides Johnson and Wales, which I had suggested some years back. Maybe you'd want to throw a water geyser in there or something of that nature. Maybe we can do a city-county university project. Just a rough idea. I want to get with Larry Rice on it and see. But I did look at the plans, and they look very, very good. It would really be a big improvement for that corridor. Right now, as you walk over the railroad tracks, and I was with Mayor Pierre one day, and we're up there on 16th Avenue, and what had taken place, a woman was pushing a baby carriage on the sidewalk. She gets to the railroad tracks. She actually has to go out onto oncoming traffic to cross the railroad tracks, which was absolutely dangerous. And
we did a whole dance, we went before the MPO and a couple other things, and we never got to first base, but I'm glad to see it come to fruition now, and they're gonna put crosswalks in and everything, so it really will beautify that street over there, so, just a little point of information, and I promise to shut up and get out of here.
Now, well, I tell you, one other thing under old business, I just want to recognize the fact that everything our staff has done, from our executive director to Rasha, you know, to Duke Sori, to Terry Henley, to certainly our attorney, how you guys have pulled this CRA together and are moving it forward is just a testament to the good work that you do, and that we now have a good team in place that's going to make this work for the best of all the people in this city. And thank you very much. You know, any new business?
Let me just, I guess, ask a couple of things. That would probably be more for you, Rasha. Is there a way for the last maybe 2 or 3 years, the projects that we've funded, to have a summary of all of those and the funds that we've dispersed? To have like a summary report of that?
Sure, it's in our annual report that we publish every year.
Yeah, it's published every year.
Get you a copy of it.
Okay, well, for that and whatever we were doing this year probably will be added to that, just so we see, at least for me, I just want to see a review of where those projects are in terms of what we've done. And then the other thing is, in terms of information to the businesses or citizens of North Miami to know about what the CRA is doing, how are we sharing that information to them so they know when to apply and where to apply and how to apply and what they would be needed to be qualified for, whether you're a new business that you want to, you know?
Well, traditionally what I've done is every first of the year I always send a letter to the property owners within, like right now I did it for the downtown corridor, informing them of the grants that are available, because as the grants change, I make sure that they know about it. And also this time I did it to introduce the Y Green program as a possible match. We also, I think we discussed that we're doing a marketing and branding, so we've been getting a lot of community inputs on that. I have been on some Haitian radio shows, but until we finalize what the branding and marketing plan is for the CRA moving forward, it's going to affect the collateral material, it's going to affect how we communicate with the public, and so on and so forth. But right now, everything is on our website. In terms of people finding me, they find me, Arthur, and the manager on a regular basis asking for grants. I think a lot of the challenge is sometimes it's the match. Most of the times they need more than the 15. It's about 50, 80,000, and they don't have the match for what it is that they're trying to do. So as we move forward and looking at the guidelines for next year, we are going to update it to make it a little bit more, I can't say user-friendly, but business-friendly, because, the guidelines that we're using now are I don't think they've been changed since, 2011? And the market now for the construction is, according to the building official, it's like $200 a square foot for rehab. And, we're not comparable to what the real need is. So as the new fiscal year comes in, once we get extended, those guidelines are going to reflect a little bit easier way for them. It could be 70, 25, things like that. So
It's really that much, 200 square foot to rehab?
construction costs. Yeah, square foot. If you put in permitting and so on, and
All
for
the
instance,
soft
if you're
costs,
opening up a restaurant, forget about it, because you have to deal with the DERM, the county. The permitting alone is a lot. And it's not the city, it's the county with all their additional things.
Cafe
So,
Creme had
yeah,
that experience.
that was an $80,000 impact fee
Yeah,
that we were able to help them mitigate.
right.
So,
And that was
yeah, and that's the county.
And that took a
That's
lot of their time.
Yeah,
I mean,
it has
it was a
nothing to
time
do
consumption.
with the city. I have to say the city was very quick and
Yeah.
very amenable.
Yeah,
We do fast work.
yeah.
I just wanted to say, I went to one of the public meetings that they had, and there were a lot of business owners there, some new business owners of that, and the biggest complaints that they have is with code.
Is with what?
Code.
With code.
There's a new man who has a restaurant who says it's like pulling teeth to get a beer and wine license. He's just having such a terrible time, and everybody chimed in and agreed that it's just like, it's like
It's not code.
You mean
well,
Yeah.
zoning and code
Wait,
too.
beer
but
and
it was-
wine,
it was
that's not code
everything.
Yeah,
enforcement.
that's not code.
Well,
The state code, I guess. The state code. Dealing with pretty much it's dealing with the licensing, depending on
Right.
what kind of business you're doing.
It's just
Well,
something
we've
that.
had a governor that's cut staff, what, for like 7 years in a row now?
Yeah.
So, there's nobody there to do the work.
Yeah. Okay.
I have one
Thank you,
other
Carol.
question.
Yeah.
Sorry. I forgot to ask this, regarding those various requirements that were discussed before for the CRAs in the interlocal agreement, over a certain amount, we talked about there were gonna be certain types of thresholds that were gonna have to be reached, like certain types of wages and requirements for various things that were gonna really up the cost to be pretty punitive. So, did we get, I think that the amount mentioned was 300,000? Did we get it any higher, or?
200. So, that's in there. And there's a lot of code references. I think the attorneys are gonna go through and see which of those provisions will be applicable, because right now, it specifies grants, but there are a lot of other tools that we have in our CRA toolbox. We can do a TIF agreement, which is a back-end assistance. So, but, we wanted to be very transparent in speaking with them and say, oh, well, you're saying, oh, this applies only to grants, so we just won't do grants. It seems very simple, but they are in there. What we did say was, look, if we're talking about a rehab, that shouldn't apply. Because those business owners they're gonna do something quick. They already have their employees in there. We gave Pollo Tropical as an example. We went in there, we gave them money.
Right.
They don't pay living wage to their employees.
Right.
They
That's
gave 30 jobs.
right, but they gave 30 jobs. So, having to deal with those offsets, because I think I get what they were trying to do, but I'm seeing this at Southeast Overtown Park West, CRA, Omni. They have larger developers that are in there doing stuff, but they are going real far. They're putting electrical workers, union, responsible wages. So you're talking about someone, they already make $30 an hour, and they're like, well, you should pay 35. Well, when you're talking about a large-scale development, that could be $3 million to the total construction cost.
Right.
And they're looking at labor. It's not just laborers. They're looking at skilled workers and increasing their wages. So there's a lot in there, but the county piece is more living wage. And we did already tell them, you need to take out rehab in our case. And I guess, generally they've agreed to, but I know the attorney's gonna go through and make sure how that stuff matches
At this point,
up.
you hope that we're just gonna have this
It'll be for
cap,
new construction.
This is gonna be on
For
new
new
construction.
New construction.
So if we do some giant projects downtown, then they're gonna have to
They'll have to
use this.
comply.
And they're just gonna pay, we're just gonna pay for the additional
And that's
cost.
what it is. We'll have to pay
Right.
the cost. Generally, what happens is we pay
Just
more
pass it
costs.
on,
Yeah.
right? So, good luck, nice.
Well, and
solutions.
that's not just CRA, but city. That's why you do procurement. We're supposed to leverage our public dollars.
Right.
So, yes, I think typically that adds 20-30% to any, if you build something, it'll cost you $1,000. It should cost me $1,300 or.
Because we do good by.
Well, no,
I
because
didn't mean that sarcastically, but this is how we
give back.
This is what we do.
Right.
We give back.
We give back.
by doing this.
Right.
All right. Anything else? Again, thank everybody for coming. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? All in favor? Opposed? Okay. See you guys next month.